Alright, what is up guys? Welcome back to 25 High. It's a beautiful day here in the south. It's sunny. Hunting season's coming up soon. This video is absolutely long overdue, and I've been meaning to do it for probably over a year now, but I did want to get some quality time in my saddle and kind of figure out what I liked and what I didn't like about this thing before I made a video on it. But without further ado, we're doing a review today and kind of a setup video as well of my BUZZARD ROOST saddle. This thing, we all got BUZZARD ROOST last year, and full transparency, they gave us a really good deal. They're not paying us to make a video on it or paying us to use it or anything, but they did give us a really good deal. And Benny's a great guy. Can't say enough good about him. But that's enough of that. It's about today. This video is about the saddle because hunting season's coming up. It'll be here before we know it. It's definitely already in for at least somebody watching this probably. We've still got like right at a month, I think, before season. A little over. What even is today? Little under a month till season opens. So looking forward to it. Everybody's been out doing some scouting. Me and my buddy Brady have been running trail cameras. Cade and Kurt keep sending pictures of their big bucks that they've got on camera, and getting pretty excited for it. But anyway, I guess now will be a good time to talk about the saddle. So this is a true two-panel saddle, and the reason you say it's a true two-panel instead of like what I used a cruiser for a long time, or well, about a season, a little over a season, a cruiser Archon, and that's a great saddle, but it's not a true two-panel because the two panels are forever connected, and the only way to adjust is to adjust where the pressure is on the saddle. I guess it's hard to explain, but basically if you look at this, the two panels are two entirely separate panels. They have a Prusik knot on each side, and what this allows is for way better adjustability of the saddle. It does, I will say this, it does take a little bit longer to get comfortable in this saddle just because there's more adjustment. It takes a little bit longer to find the sweet spot than say an Archon or maybe even a Latitude. I don't know. It took me longer to get settled in and get comfortable in this saddle than it did with the Archon, but once I got it dialed into what fits me, it's 1,000 times more comfortable to me. But yeah, true two-panel. It's got these it's got clips, as you just saw me unclip the two panels. It's got these regular old plastic clips. They are a little bit loud snapping them in and snapping them out, but like usually as soon as I get to a tree and as soon as I tether in, I'm pretty much unclipping them. It's got two rows of molly on the top, molly loops. It's got a little bit, they're different, so one's a little, I don't know exactly the purpose between one being a little thicker and one being a little thinner would be, but it's two different types of molly, two layers on the top. You can get it dialed into exactly what you would want. I think they do make custom models with molly on the bottom panel, but I personally just don't like that. I tried putting some of my stuff on the bottom molly of my cruiser, didn't really like it. I would prefer it to be on the top. It's easier to reach. It's not hanging way down below you when you're sitting in the tree, all that. Moving on, as pretty much the standard for most saddles, it's got a nice Cobra buckle. It does make a little metal on metal noise, but when you're clipping it in, but normally I walk in with my saddle on, so that doesn't really affect me in any way. It doesn't make, I mean, that tiny little bit of noise you're not even gonna hear when you got it up against your clothes, especially if you're wearing multiple layers and it's kind of tight. The bridge, I believe this is Oflux or something along those lines. It's an 8mm climbing rope. I prefer this a lot over the Amsteel because with this Prusik and the Prusik tender, no, this is a distal hitch, I believe, whatever type of knot this is. With that and the tender, it's just extremely easy to adjust. You can dial it in. For me, I personally like to when I'm climbing, I personally like it fairly tight and my tether really long. It gives me a lot of adjustment on my tether as I'm going up and down the tree. And when I get set up, I tighten my tether up a lot and then loosen the bridge. Kind of reduces a lot of that hip pinch you might feel, which is one thing. This saddle has almost no hip pinch. The only time it does is when I don't have my bridge set right for me. On the bottom panel, this saddle is pretty much designed for rappellers, or it's designed with rappelling in mind, at least. It's got these extra loops on either side. I can show you better. It's got an extra loop on the back, extra loop over here, and I believe that those and the adjustment loops on either side of the panel have something to do with rappelling. I haven't done it yet. Haven't done any rappelling. I don't know, but it says it. They advertise a lot as it being set up pretty well for people who do like to rappel. So if you like to rappel, it's probably a good option. I just use, as you can obviously see, I use this extra loop just to carry up my pull-up rope. The paracord does get wound up a little bit. It does kind of get tangly, but I don't know. It's not big enough of a deal for me to go spend 30, 40, 50, however much on a retractable one. I bought this cheap. I think I got like 2 of these for like 15, 20 bucks. These Molly pouches. The reason I got these is because they have a snap in on the back. I don't remember what they are, but they're cheap. They're off of Amazon. And I just put my tether in there. I pretty much, since I one stick, I pretty much only bring a tether. I have brought 2 in with me, but I mean, if you know you're gonna climb around limbs, that's one thing. I would like to have 2 tethers, but typically I'm hunting pine trees. If I'm not hunting pine trees, then if I know I'm going to be in an area that's a little thicker, I might bring 2 ropes with me, but typically it's just the one because, like I say, I'm hunting pine trees. We usually don't hit limbs until we're 40 feet up. All right, I don't know exactly how much you guys can see, but I've got the saddle on now, and just to explain to you guys, this is pretty much how I walk in. I got it clipped in. I've got my bridge tightened all the way down, and I wrap it around and just sort of loop the little knot end through one of the adjustment loops. And I got the back clipped in, tightened all the way up. And what this does for me, it just keeps it tight. I can walk, I have walked over a mile with this saddle set up just like this, never got loose. I know a lot of other saddles, you start walking through the woods, you make it 200 yards, and you're sitting there pulling on stuff, tightening stuff, snatching straps, stuff like that. This one, for me, when I tighten the bridge down and I get my buckle set right on my waist, it doesn't budge. It feels like I'm just wearing like a fanny pack or something. It feels like almost nothing's there, and it stays tight enough that it's not like flopping around, it's not snagging brush, none of that. So that's one thing I really like about this saddle. But we're gonna go ahead and get in a tree. I hope you guys can still see me fully when I do this. All right, so now I'm up in this tree. I typically wear knee pads, but just a couple things real quick of sitting in the tree and feeling it. One thing, this top panel, the way I usually sit in the 2 panel in general, there's a few different ways you can do it, but for me, the only way that makes sense is using the top panel almost as a low back brace, and then just sitting in the bottom panel. For me, like I say, that's pretty much the only way to do it. I like to get it set up. I think my tether's actually a little bit long. I like to get it where I can kneel like this, and pretty much my butt's just a little bit higher than my knees. My tether may be a little bit long for that right now, but that's okay. The reason I do that is because if I want to switch between kneeling like I'm doing now and standing, the lower you are, the harder that is. So I just want to make it real easy. I can just ease up, draw my bow, do whatever. This rope that comes with this saddle is super nice because I used to use an 8mm, and I think this is 9. It's not as big as like what you would get from like Bass Pro or something, but I used to use the 8mm, and they just were almost like too floppy, I guess. This one's stiffer, it's super easy to adjust, but it locks in tight. That's one thing with the 8mm ropes. I had to put another wrap in my cruising knot because it would slip on my tether when I was just sitting there. So that's one thing to think about. And I'm not that big. I mean, I could imagine if you're heavier than 160 pounds that it would slip a lot worse. So, but this one's never slipped on me. It's always been good. This is the first time I've been in a saddle since probably February 10th. No, this is the first time I've been in a saddle since the last weekend, second last weekend of February, when we hunted Florida on the muzzleloader hunt, and I gotta say, I missed it. This has gotten me wanting to climb up a tree and send some arrows, sling some arrows at some old nanny goats. But I don't know. This saddle's just so comfortable. Like I legitimately forgot just how comfortable it is, but I feel like I could sit here just about all day. I would like to have some better shoes. I'm wearing Hey Dudes on a one stick, so that's not ideal. If I had some better boots on, I feel like I could legitimately sit here all day. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I'm not a very good salesman. I'm not very good at reviews. I feel like I say a lot of things that don't matter when I try to do a review, but hopefully you learned something from it. I would strongly suggest, if you've got a buddy with a 2-panel saddle, even if it's not a Buzzard Roost, give it a shot. Try something. If you're looking to get into saddle hunting, or you're not super happy with whatever saddle you have, try to find other people in your area that have different saddles. Also, if you're close to the southern half of Louisiana, I'm sure I've seen a lot of posts where Benny's helped guys out and let them try out a saddle before they bought one. So if you're in that area, go ahead and give Buzzard Roost a DM and see what happens. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this. I cannot wait to sling some arrows, and good luck to everybody this season. Always remember to live life 25-5. See you next time.